In our last video, we were in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. We strolled the streets of the historic downtown, learned about the city's role in the evolution of rock and roll, checked out an awesome old theater, and of course, looked at some of the street art. In this video,
we're in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
For context, we visited Hot Springs in May of 2024. It was a stop in what we called Wanderlust 2024, a road trip from Central Florida to Kansas and back.
We stayed at the historic Arlington Hotel, which originally opened in 1875. Its original wooden structure was just 3 stories high with 120 rooms, making it the largest at the state for that era. There was a second building built in 1893, but that was destroyed by fire in 1923. The present hotel opened on New Year's Eve, 1924. It was a favorite destination for Al Capone, who would actually book the entire 4th floor for his staff and bodyguards.
For the majority of this video, we'll walk along Central Avenue, which is the heart of the downtown.
Hot Springs was incorporated in 1851. The current population is 38,000.
The Majestic Hotel is no longer there, but the building in the back is the Arkansas School for Math, Sciences, and the Arts. As our hotel was already fairly near the end of the main strip, we turned around here and started heading back on Central Avenue. All right, today we're in downtown Hot Springs. We're staying at the Arlington Hotel, which is a really cool old hotel, and we're just about to turn the corner onto the main strip, so we're very excited to do this. Come along with us. For those not aware like me, downtown Hot Springs is actually a national park, which threw me off a little bit because when I looked on the map and saw national park, I pictured something very different.
Yeah, it's actually the oldest federal reserve in the U.S., receiving federal protection in 1832, which led the city to develop into a successful spa town. Today, it's preserved as Hot Springs National Park, and we'll talk more about that when we look at the bathhouses. The 7-story building you see opened in 1926 as the Howe Hotel, the first certified fireproof building in Hot Springs. In the late 40s and 50s, it was used as an overflow for the Army-Navy Hospital, which we'll see later. As a hotel, FBI agents often stayed here in order to watch Al Capone, who was staying over at the Arlington Hotel. It's now abandoned.
Yeah, it's sad that that's no longer occupied, but to be fair, it's one of the very few places that we found that actually didn't have a current business in it.
Gambling was very popular in the early 20th century. Here you see the signs for the Ohio Club and the Southern Club, both casinos that were popular with mobsters like Al Capone, Lucky Luciano, and Bugsy Siegel. When gambling was outlawed in the 1960s, it really did have a negative impact on tourism of the city. Here we get our first look at Bathhouse Row, which consists of 8 bathhouse buildings that were constructed between 1892 and 1923. This was designated as a historic landmark district in 1987, and it's managed by the Park Service. When we get to the other side of the street, we'll talk more about the specific structures.
So if it looks like there's a lot of people downtown, there are. For context, this is a Saturday, but my suspicion is it's going to be busy pretty much any day of the week in the heart of tourist season, i.e. in the summertime. Make no mistake, this is definitely a tourist town.
And as we often do, we found an old Crest 5 and dime store. This one was built in 1915 and closed in 1985. It's now retail shops and 3 Airbnb rentals.
As you can see, with tourists come traffic, so plan accordingly. We actually found this to be a really simple city to walk around, so I'd find a place to park and just plan on hoofing it.
Across the street, you see the Malco Theater. On this site, originally, it was the Princess Theater built in 1910, but it was destroyed by a fire in 1935. This one was built in 1936 with 1,000 seats and continued showing movies until 1995. Now it is a magic theater.
For clarification, I'm sure the theater is magical, but she means that they do magic shows.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
At this point, we decided to step off the main street and start checking out some of the side streets. I know I sound like a broken record because I say this in a lot of videos, but really do yourself a favor and get off the main street sometime. So, first of all, you notice there's no people. You'll find some of the coolest restaurants, the ones that the locals go to, and who knows what kind of cool street art or buildings that you'll find. So if you can, do yourself a favor and look in the back alleys, side streets, and just get off the main flow every once in a while.
We are really enjoying Hot Springs. The downtown is cute, although it's very touristy, but even just a few blocks away from downtown, there's some really cool historic buildings. So we're at about the halfway point. We're gonna start working our way back the other direction.
This outdoor bar is a perfect example of what I was talking about. Had we stayed where all the tourists are, we wouldn't have found this, and this was a great find.
Definitely.
Refreshed, we headed back towards the main strip, this time on the other side, to check out the bathhouses. And I'm pretty sure there's a brewery down there somewhere we're going to make our way to as well.
And here's a close-up of the magical Malco Theater.
As you can see, these buildings are pretty cool, and so we did decide we wanted to check them out from the other side. So in just a second here, we're going to make a turn and go see what this looks like from the backside.
And here we are on the backside of those buildings. This white plaque commemorates the spot in approximately 1790 where the first hotel and bathhouse were built, back when this was Hot Springs territory.
Wow, that's really cool. I must have missed that. I was too busy filming, I guess.
We'll talk about this imposing building in a minute. We are coming up on the Arkansas Walk of Fame. It honors people who were born or lived in Arkansas, made significant contributions in their field, and are recognized nationally. We also learned that Hot Springs is the birthplace of Major League Baseball spring training. That dates back to 1886 when the Chicago White Stockings, who are now the Cubs, came to Hot Springs for the first ever spring training baseball. And throughout town, you can follow green signs to learn about players who trained here. Okay, back to this building, which is the old Army-Navy Hospital. The original building opened in 1887, but the one you see here was built in 1933. In the 60s, it was converted to a residential facility for people with disabilities, and in 2011, they closed the medical wing and focused on the vocational components of that. Ultimately, it closed in 2019.
So now we're on Bathhouse Row. Caro, tell us a little bit about these.
We're going to start with the Lamar Bathhouse. The building you see opened in April of 1923, replacing a previous wooden Victorian bathhouse that was built in 1888. What was unique about this one is it offered a wide range of tub lengths for people of different heights. It closed in November of 1985, but it now houses the Bath Row Emporium, the official store of the National Park Service. Next up is the Buckstaff Bathhouse. This one opened in 1912, and it is the sole operating survivor from the original Bathhouse Row baths from the golden age of bathing. So it has been open continuously since then and can accommodate 1,000 bathers per day. The Ozark opened in summer of 1922 and closed in 1977. Today it houses the Hot Springs National Park Cultural Center and has an artist in residence so you can view art exhibits. The space is also available for community events. The Cultural Center is open on weekends from noon to 5. The Quapaw Bathhouse was built in 1922 and closed in 1984. It was reopened in 2008 as a family-oriented spa, so that today they offer baths, pools, and modern spa services. The Fortis Bathhouse operated from 1915 to 1962. It was the only bathhouse to have a bowling alley in it when it operated as a bathhouse. It was also, unfortunately, the first one to close on Bathhouse Row due to declining business. It reopened as the National Park Visitors Center in May of 1989. The Maurice Bathhouse opened in 1912 and was the only one on the row to have a pool, in addition to the baths, and the only one to employ a registered physical therapist. It closed in 1974. It's currently vacant but becoming available for commercial leasing. The white building across the street from the bathhouses is the Waters Hotel. It was built in 1913 and it was originally doctors' offices because visitors would visit the bathhouses and then go across the street to see the doctors to determine their progress. The Hale Bathhouse was built in 1892 and is the oldest visible structure on Bathhouse Row. It closed in October of 1978 but reopened in 2018 as a luxury hotel. And here we are at Jeff's favorite. This is the Superior Bathhouse, which was built in 1916. It was the smallest bathhouse on the row with the lowest rates, so it was known as the People's Bathhouse. It closed in 1983. After being vacant for 30 years, though, it reopened as the Superior Bathhouse Brewery, the only brewery in a U.S. national park and the only brewery in the world to use a thermal spring water to make their beer.
And the only bathhouse we actually went into.
Exactly.
With that said, let's check out some of the street art and then we'll wrap this one up. All right, what did you think of Hot Springs, Arkansas?
I liked it. It's definitely touristy, but these old bathhouses that go back 100 years are pretty cool.
Yeah, this is really, it's a tourist destination for sure, but it's really cool. The bathhouses, the old buildings, breweries, it's awesome. Thumbs up from me.
Me too.
All right, get off the couch. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.